Right.
So, um, so I got profit margin set at 70% and material margin set at 35. So those are two independent numbers. The profit margin will apply to your labor and overhead, and then material is purely material.
Yep.
So you can set them both the same. You can set them different. You can change them whenever you want. But that's essentially how that works. You want to leave that like that for now?
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because you can always come back. So now go to, and then once everything starts flowing, once you start having jobs in your dashboard, this will, you'll start seeing revenue versus profit by month. And then your labor is just your base labor cost across all your
Yep.
jobs in a given month. And then materials is the same. Um, Now, depending on how many jobs you do in a year, you may use one dashboard a quarter, you may use one dashboard a year. But scroll back up, Sam, in the top right, you can. So let's say you do 100. Let's say you're a smaller company and you do 150 jobs and it takes you 2 years. Well, you can set a 12-month window, so then you can look at the trend by any given 12 months.
Got it.
That's all it does. Otherwise, you may set it once and have to change it and start with a new dashboard every year. All right, so now go to overhead. So this one's really simple. This is just your overhead cost. I threw some examples in there, but a good one might be you spend $1,000 a year or $1,000 a month on tools. So your item would be tools, and then paid X times a year just means 12 times a year because you're spending $1,000 a month. And what this does, it gives you a total annualized cost for overhead. And then when you plug in, so you see that total annual estimated jobs says
Yep.
105. So if it's 3 a week, then that's 150 a year, and that gives you an overhead allocation. So in every job tab, that 81.90 or it might be $400 depending on your overhead costs gets applied to every job. So that way, every job you're basically paying for your overhead. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, it's a real simple tab. So then go to labor rate. This is where it starts to
And
get
then I
real.
can just update it as I add if I
So
add
that's a
additional things.
yeah, as it changes. So I I had I wouldn't say a problem. I had something I didn't like, and I figured out how to solve it yesterday. So with that being said, and I'll explain what that is in a little bit, you can change this anytime. Now go to labor rate. So this is kind of similar. So you have your crew details, and this could be done by it could be done a few different ways. So if you have your own crew, I've got just an example. You got 3 installers, one foreman. That's your hourly rate. And across your four guys, if you scroll down just a little bit, it'll show um, you got your total. I think your total rate's 110. You can cross four people. So go back up to the top. Um, so keep going up. So you see the base cost per man hour is 27.50.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I've got workman's comp add on, and then your actual cost per man hour is 29.70. So if you go in and change and your crew size grows, then that number will change with it. Now, if you subcontract out all your work and given, if you're just hiring crews and on average you're paying $25 a person for what you're contracting out, then you just put subcontract one headcount and hourly rate, and it's going to work the same. Because what you're going to get down to is a cost per man hour, and then
Yep.
it's going to be regardless of how many people you're using. Does that make sense?
It does.
Um, so one thing I note, if you hover over the red, so there's a little red marker under current crew details. So what I just explained, that's the note I've got in there is if you're contracting out, you just added one role and set the headcount to one. So I've got notes like that throughout the file.
Yep.
Um, Now scroll down. So then so you got installation and removal, and I've got a bunch of different fence types. And this is basically how I'd approach this is, I got 5 guys working on a rail fence that's 200 feet. They spent the day doing it, and then I plugged those values in I had 5 guys working on it. They knocked out 40 sections. It took them 8 hours. The section lengths were 8 feet, and that's going to give you a labor cost per 2 feet. And you don't need to change it again unless you want to update it, right? Because once you're in general, whether you're using 3 guys or 4 guys, your speeds are probably going to be relatively close. So
Mhm.
once you get a value the first time, you can change it whenever you feel like you need to change it. But your labor cost per 2 feet is not going to be significantly. I would imagine it's not significantly different. Um, and then you've got this for installation and for removal speeds.
Aluminum 6-foot sections, by the way.
That's okay. You can change. I mean, if you change it, it's going to change the math. So
Yeah.
this is just basically in our
Setting it
terms,
up.
it's a time study. Yeah, it's like you did a
Yeah.
time study and plugged in the values, and it's going to spit out your labor rate based on that.
Yeah. Because even if I had a sub, I would be telling, which I paid a sub by the post. That's how I pay them.
Yeah.
That's where the time is. So we pay them like $6 a post. But if I told a crew, hey, you got this amount of time to get 100 feet installed, and we've sized your crew, so you got this here. If you go over or under, I need to know why. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well,
And then
there's
we
a
keep tracking that for every job. So
so that's a um so again the removal table is the same, but if you just scroll back up, I've got a note in here. Um, so there's a soil and contour note, and you can hover
yeah,
over that if you want to. But this should be nominal rates. So this should just be normal soil, normal contour, normal land. But I've got a multiplier in the job tab. So if you run into heavy clay and you're on a hill and it's going to take you twice as long to do the fence, you can put a multiplier in, so it accounts for the additional labor and time. That makes sense.
it does.
Okay. So that's it for labor overhead. All right, start moving to the right on the tabs. Let's see what's next.
Job summary.
So we'll come back to this one because there's nothing this is just a visual. So
Yeah.
supplier list, this is a nice to have, not a necessity. But if
Yeah.
you want to make notes about who your suppliers are, who your contacts are, the company name will show up in your material list, which I'll show you in a second. But essentially,
Does
that's it.
does it pull anything from here?
It does. It will pull the company name. So go to
Right here?
material. Yep. So if
Okay.
you can assign certain materials to certain suppliers.
All right.
That's how that'll work. Now we'll come. I guess we can go through material. So go to, I don't care, pick one. You got aluminum. So you got 4 different material tabs. You got aluminum, wood, chain link, and vinyl. So they're all separate. Um, there you go.
All right.
So for wood material, what I did is I created a way to kind of make it easy to make the material descriptions. Um, so you can add more characteristics, details, colors, whatever, and then it's going to spit out a full material description. So
Hmm.
scroll to the left just a little bit. So material category, I kind of generalized some. So posts, panels, hardware, it's gates, and then you got a size spec, and then any descriptions that you want to add in, and it's going to spit out a full material description, which is what you'll use within each of the material tabs or the job tabs. And
Right.
it's also what pulls into the inventory tab. Now, scroll back up and to the left. So you'll notice the date price thing on the far left. So your review. So if you look in row 4, review material prices every. I got 365 days, so it's once a year. So when your date is either blank or exceeds that 365 days, it goes red, basically, or pink here, red or pink, however you want to look at that, to trigger
Oh,
to, hey,
okay.
you need to update your material price. Just
Okay.
says you're behind, you haven't changed it. So, and yeah, I've got a note in there that says that. But what that does is, just a reminder, hey, look, I know materials change, so prices change. So
Yep.
this is a good way to kind of flag if you haven't updated. Um, so the count and base cost. So when you're plugging in these, it's, hey, you can kind of do it multiple ways, but general I buy one board, one panel, and I pay $56 for the panel. So that's base cost. That's what you pay. That's no margin, no tax. That's just your cost because the tax gets passed on to the customer. I've already got that accounted for. So this should be absolutely base cost. And then you'll get a cost per unit. So if you buy in bulk and you buy, a pallet of 500 panels or whatever that case may be, you can plug in 500 and then plug in your base cost for the 500, and it's still going to spit out a per unit cost. Catch that?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, in that count and base cost. So you can do it multiple ways, but in general, you're just looking to make sure the per unit value is accurate.
Yeah.
And then you'll see it does show the cost with your margin. So if
Hmm.
you want 35% on top of your cost, then you're going to be charging the customer $75 for a panel. And that's it on the material list. So there's a lot of materials already in here for aluminum, wood, vinyl. I think chain link has the most.
Yeah.
But this is something that you'd have to update and add on as you go, especially on the check. You want to check some of the prices. So for like wood and some of the other ones, I actually did check them. I've got dates in here for December where I went online and kind of pulled a value from somewhere. Like Lowe's. I could find them on Lowe's, and so those are pretty accurate values.
Okay. That's
Now
good.
on the inventory, so go to wood inventory. So this is so anytime you um, buy material or use material, the crew pulls material, you can update this inventory tracker. So it's going to pull from the same exact material. So whatever materials you create, this is that material list. You just given a date. Did you receive it or use it? And then the quantity you pulled or received, either or. And this gives you a running total of your total inventory for, um, yeah, it's a drop down selection, but it gives you a running total of all your material. And then, so you'll see value on hand. So for wood, in this case, you'd have, just under $18,000 or just over $17,000 in material for wood. But go back to the wood material real quick. So if you scroll to the right, as you update that inventory tracker, you're going to see inventory value. So for each material, that's your value and your count. So as you update that inventory tracker, those numbers will change.
Yeah. So it's telling me I got 650 4x4x8.
Yep, that's right.
Okay. On hand.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice quick visual to know what you got on hand. And
All right.
so go back to, I think that's it on inventory as far as how that template is used. Go back to what
Sean,
inventory? Oh, go ahead.
Sean, I have a question.
Yep.
How many instances of this can be at the same time?
What you mean?
So, so if I have can I have an office person using this at the same time somebody in the field's using it?
So if you put it on SharePoint, yeah. Yeah, if
Okay.
you upload this to your Microsoft SharePoint, then yeah, you'd be able to, just like we use, if you're just like our SharePoint at work. So, um, you can, so ultimately you'd want to open the file in SharePoint and then choose to open it in desktop. It's still web based. So yeah, you could have multiple people in it at the same time.
Okay. You know why I'm asking, right? So if the
Yeah.
person's out there and they sell a job and I either got to order material or and then I can also have somebody in the office updating pricing and ordering and receiving and
Yeah.
if I had a dedicated salesman out in the field or something. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll work. Or so we're going to skip the rest of the material tabs. They're all identical outside of they have their own list and their own inventory tracking for each material type. So we'll get right into, let's go into a job tab. So scroll over and go to like job number one. Yeah, J1. So this is where it gets, I'd say, fun. So this pulls all those pieces together into one tab. You've got a different job template for wood, aluminum, chain link, and vinyl. They're all different. They're all basically, I'd say they're nearly identical outside of the model it takes to build the fence part. So if you're coming in to create a job, you're going to start top left. You're going to add customer info. You're going to choose your labor details. So you can select your your fence type for removal and installation. If you
So
know, hey,
if I'm starting a new job, what do I do?
so if you're starting a brand new, you would go to the wood job tab. You'll see at the bottom. That's your template. So click on. You'll see. Yep. Um, so this is your template. So this is a empty template. There's nothing in it. The only thing you're seeing for job price is basically your overhead. Yep. And actually, if you're going to try to do this, so make a copy of that tab, Sam. So right click on it. This is how you technically would do it. Yep. So now rename that to your next sequential job number, which would be so just J5. I had job 1 through 4 already created.
But I'd have to know that.
So I'll show you how that. So erase the wood job. It should just say J5. I'll show you how that works. Yep.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So go up to job summary. I'm gonna show you how that works and why it's like that. So
Okay.
see how it linked up? So that's all you had to do is create the job tab number, and so each new job you'll just add the next sequential number, and it's going to auto pull into this table and link up to everything else. You have to look at where you saved it at. Scroll back to the left. You might have dropped it in the very beginning, or
It
yeah.
is in the very beginning. I'm just looking. I'm just playing with the flow here
Oh, okay.
because I'm thinking that if I'm going to the next customer's house, what, and I want it to. I don't care about the other stuff because I'm in the field, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get the flow. So I'm scrolling over. I'm hitting this
Hello.
here. I don't know what. You got a child in there.
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
That's good.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Wood job. I don't know what job is the next job,
So this
but
is how generally it would work. So if you're in job summary, so this is kind of like your hub, right?
yeah.
Everything's here, everything's listed. So if you're going to get ready to create a new job, this is where you'd look, say, okay, job 6 is next. So, and if you go back up to the top, I've got vinyl. You'll see I've got shortcuts for vinyl estimate, CL estimate. I should say wood estimate. It might just be shrunk on your screen to look funny, but that's your wood job. So then you can, from that job summary, you can jump directly to the tab and then make a copy. Shut my door for to beat my kids.
What was that?
I had shut my door for I have to beat my kids.
Oh no, that's fine. I like beating them. Don't get me wrong, but all right. So if I move mine to job summary and open
So
it up.
I know you use a so Sam, I know you use a shortcut to create that job when you copy and basically copied and reading it or created a new tab.
Yep.
But just a side, so right click. I'm gonna show you something. Right click on that tab,
Which one?
or just any given one. It doesn't matter. It doesn't. So right click like you're going. If you right click and then it should give you a. Is it is it not show? Is it showing on yours? Not showing on mine? Like right click as if you're going to try to copy it.
Yeah, it's coming up. What am I looking for?
Oh, so I don't know why I can't. Maybe it's something I just can't see on my screen. So when you right click on the tab, it'll a little window will pop up and it'll ask you if you want to make a copy or rename or. And when you
Yep.
select make a copy, you can choose where it populates in this whole thing. So if basically, so you don't lose it, it doesn't show, it doesn't drop it in the very first, if it's the very first tab, you can kind of scroll through and select where you want it to save at. So that's why it stays sequential and you're not having to drag stuff and move stuff around.
So what can you see now?
I can see, I mean, I can see a good portion of the job summary down through about row 17.
Okay, I have job. So when I moved job summary to the front.
Yeah, that's fine.
So as soon as I open this thing here up, I'm at a customer's place. I click on this job summary. Um, I'm looking at. I see what the next available is. I'm J6. I'm going to a chain link estimate,
Yep.
and now I have to click and make a copy, and I'm creating a copy, and that's going to be J7.
Yep. Or J6.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. J6.
And if you
That's
go
how the
back,
flow. That's how the flow would work for me. That's
yeah,
that's
that's and that's it. Once they're in the order I've got them set up in now because that's what it's going to take to initially set it up. And once you've done that, you could probably hide the overhead and labor tabs until you want to change them, right?
yeah.
You won't need them out, but I kind of
Because
put them
again,
in
if
order of how
if
you
I'm
would.
just out in the field, and I'm running and gunning, I'm trying to get from one customer to the next, and let's say I get to a neighborhood, right, and I'm doing a quote. Um, if it's me, Sean, you know what I'm doing? I go to this neighbor's quote, and then I'm going to these other houses and say, hey, I just quoted your neighbor down here for a fence. You got any idea? I mean, you got any need for fence or fence repair? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
try to knock the doors in that neighborhood, and I wanna be able to pop it up. You know what I'm saying?
So you could even do. I mean, I told you to go ahead and create a copy, but technically, it depends on if you want. So to me, if I created an estimate, I'd want the history in case the customers might say no, not right now, but they might call me back in 2 months. And at least I already have the estimate saved. Vice
Absolutely.
versa, though, if you don't
Well, I
have
want
to
to get
do it
their
that way.
information.
Yeah, right. I
Their
assume you'd
information is
want
just as
to.
valuable as the sale.
That's right. Because if you now, so if you go back to job summary, I'm gonna
Okay.
show you, and you can use your shortcut up top from the job tab, FYI. But if you'll notice, so I've got the yeah. So when it's just an estimate and it doesn't go any further, it's highlighted as estimate right in column D. So if
Hmm.
you look at column D and look at, so you'd be able to quickly look at your workflow, and if you got 100 tabs in here, and say, okay, look, this is where that customer had reached out. I gave them an estimate, so you still have the value saved.
Yep.
It's all still there.
Yep. No, no, no. I'm with you. Just trying to get that efficient flow down in my head.
Yeah.
In mine, it's not going to be the same for everybody. I understand that, but
No, this
okay.
thing does a lot. We've only kind of scratched the surface a little bit.
What happens if I delete it?
Nothing. You'll just delete it and it won't exist. You won't break anything.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, and then you can create a new job file. It's just that.
Yeah. So J5, J5.
Which one is this?
Chain link.
Chain link. So the chain link, I think, is probably one of the simpler ones. Um, we'll go through a wood one. That one's I wouldn't say more complex, but there's just more pieces. So you choose corners. Yeah, you want to so you want to make sure you select the right fence type.
Yeah.
Removal, if you are doing removal, ooh, that's a huge removal. That's hey, I want to show you something. What you just did. So scroll up to the
Yeah.
top.
Okay.
So now you see the job name in row 2.
I do.
So when you put that value in for removal feet, it now says with removal. So your name just updated.
Gotcha.
Yep. So the name will know like if you're doing removal or not. It'll change. There's several things in here that will change based on that. So like where it says galvanized, so go to chain link type.
Excuse me. Chain link type. Chain link
Yeah, so
type.
down there in the fencing job details, you'll see chain link type and it says galvanized. So it's and your left, your peach boxes, column C.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So either galvanized, I don't know what they're black. So when you change that
Yep.
to black, that name will change as well.
Yep.
So
So
now
I
it says
changed the
black.
4 foot black to
Yep.
removal. Okay. 50 foot. Like 21. Uh,
So that's that rail length is your top rail. It's like your bar, like
yes. Yep.
your stop. Okay. So in case that length changes in the pieces you buy. Yep.
But you can't buy anything less than a 21-foot piece.
Okay. So I just okay. That's why I
And,
left it kind of open ended where you
and
could plug in what the value is.
so that's also why that guy said in that place you posted it last night in sections, you can't sell anything less than a section. You know what I mean?
Oh, you saw that
Because
on the group thing?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because
I've
you
had a
can't.
lot of people messaging me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I told you this thing's huge, man.
Yeah.
You can't. If I have a 6 foot fence, if a customer wants a 6 foot length fence, or it comes out to, let's say, 8 foot 6, I have to sell them 2 sections of vinyl or aluminum because I cannot. I'm paying for it anyway. That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
why it needs to
Well,
be. It has to be rounded up to the section, the
so
next
that's what
section.
I've got. Yeah. So the fence sections will round up here.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah. You have to do it that way.
Yep. All right. Total gate doors. So let's say I have one single and one double drive gate. So that's going to be 3, right?
It's 3. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. So how do I know if they're 10-foot double drive gate or 12-foot double drive
So
gate?
you'll have to select that. So if you scroll down, you'll see the gates on here. Gate type 1, gate type 2.
Yeah.
So you'd have to choose your gates. So that'll need to be a part of your material list. And then, like you just said, so gate type 1, this doesn't mean up to 3 gates. It just means so you're going to have one short gate and then 2 longer ones, and that would be so in column G. That's where you'll add in the number of gates for each type,
Yeah.
and that'll calculate your. So if you click in there, there should be some gate options already that you can scroll down
Yeah.
and look for. Yeah, you don't want to type it in. You want it in your material list because what it's going to do is so hit your drop down and select find see if you can find a gate, and I'll show you what it's going to do.
So there's no
Yeah.
easier
So
way to find. Okay.
no, go ahead. What'd you say, Sam?
I was going to say there's no easier way because I'm having to scroll through all this here to find a gate.
Um,
Excuse me.
if you
All right. That's all right. So
yeah
I got a gate. I got gates here. I'm in the black, so I'm 4x4 gate. So I need one of these and gate type 2. That's why I was typing it to see.
I can't see if that'll work on my end, but it might would
I,
shorten your give you a
I think
list.
it's working. Give me
Okay.
1 minute. It comes up as
So this is a
not
nice little feature I added. It just means that it's pulling them. Don't change it. So it's pulling the material, but it just means there's no dollar value. So you'd
okay.
have to go back in your material list and add a dollar value.
Gotcha.
Yep. So just a flag to say, hey, look, this shouldn't be a zero.
Yep, that's good.
Yep. Now let's go
So I
go
did
back down. So you
total
see S.
total
Oh, sorry.
doors
Go ahead.
3. I
Yep.
did total gate doors 3. So I got one 4x4, and then I should have two 5x4s. How do I put the
Right. So now
quantity
in
there?
column G, you're going to add the 1 and the 2.
And column which one?
So right there. So you'll put it on. So if you got one of those, put a 1. So this
It
is your
won't let
count.
me.
Yeah. This is if it's not letting you, it's because it's
Password
locked and
protected.
yeah. Okay. So I need to fix that. So it shouldn't be locked. This is the bug stuff we'll have to work out.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
you can
That's
so
why I'm
you
trying to
can
run through it.
yeah you can unlock the tab if you want to, so you can finish.
Yeah,
It won't. So if you want to right click and hit unlock,
I don't have that option.
can't right click on the tab and hit unprotect.
Yeah, it doesn't pop up, but
Are you doing this on, just out of curiosity, are you doing this on actual Excel or are you doing this on SharePoint or web based?
no, this is Excel. I downloaded it.
It should
XLSX.
yeah, it should actually. No, it should work. So it should let you unlock it, but I can't necessarily see when you. So
So
scroll
if I
down
right
into the.
click, I got
No, I
cut,
know what you're doing.
copy.
So no, go down into where you see it said J5. Right
Yep.
click on your tab name. So it should give you a window there to
Got unprotect sheet.
unlock it. Yeah, unprotect. And then the passcode is SWC, all lowercase.
Okay.
Yeah, so
One.
now there you go. Yeah, okay, I
One,
need to
two.
fix that.
Okay.
So when you do that, it's going to pull in your cost, and then that'll automatically populate in your material cost. Now you'll notice I've got two columns in there. One is estimated count. That's so a lot of the products, the math is kind of doing it for you, and then but I've got an actual just in case the math is wrong, or in case somebody's doing something slightly different, wants to account for some extra material, and then the actual count has an additional feature. So if you're if you do a job and then later determine, hey, look, it took a little more material or a little less material, however you want to do that, than what you originally planned. So if you change, so I'm going to show you. Go back down. Um, so where you see gate, just change where you see 1. So go in column H and put a 2. So it's going to overwrite the actual value. So when you plug in, so if you came back in after you did an initial estimate and your materials maybe changed, or you needed more materials, or the customer requested something, mid-process that you had to add on, you can come in and change the actual and then update. And when you send her the invoice, it's going to reflect the true cost.
Okay.
So it's just an additional feature that you can or can't. It's up to you whether you use it or not.
Yep. Gotcha.
But it would show you if you did use it, you'd have the history of, hey, look, this was a change that was made.
All right.
Um, go back. I want to show you one more thing on the materials. So scroll back up to the fencing detail. So you see the material. So in row 18, the material calculation multiplier.
Okay.
So what this is I'm doing math to determine how many posts you need, rails or mesh rolls in this case. Let's say you want a buffer of additional waste. Let's say you got a crew that's kind of using a little more than it should, but you want to account for that. So you could change it to 110. Yep. And now it's going to be 11 posts.
Okay.
And this will automatically roll into your material calculation. So as you learn to use the dashboard and file, you'll learn that, hey, look, I need to add a little more here, a little less here. And you can account for that without having to change a lot.
All right.
Now, as far as going through this whole sheet, I do want to make a note. So if you're, imagine you got 50 jobs in this thing, and you want to create a new job and it's relatively close to something you just did. So you could always go into job summary, find the job that you did that was pretty close, and then go to that tab and make a copy of that tab and then edit it. So you don't have to make a copy of the wood job. You could go make a copy of, okay, look, I'm gonna make a copy of job 2 and then edit it for this other customer because it's pricing and materials are already pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And it might save you a little time. So it'd be J5.
J6.
Or whatever, yeah. I mean, whatever the next one was, you might be right. It might have been 6.
Okay.
Now, if you go back to that summary, you'll see them both in there. See?
Yeah.
And that might just be something that would save you a little bit of time.
Yeah, certainly. And all of these have to be populated manually.
Initially, yeah, 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 they would have to be they'd have to be populated manually. The
Okay.
only thing that's going to save you time is if you went into your select the wood job template, you could pre-populate what you most common use. You know, like the 80-20 rule, and that would it would save you a little bit because you can populate. Technically, you can populate a material, um, and not necessarily have a number assigned to it. So if there's no scroll down, I'll give you an example. So like in the gates, so you could pre-populate gates for each one of those types. And then if you just didn't have you weren't going to use one of those gates, just leave the count 0 and you won't be
Yeah.
adding cost, but it saves you time on selection later.
And how would I do that? How would I keep it populated?
So if you go
Keep
to
copying
your
the job.
yeah, no, the wood job, select the job template, the file that you would normally copy to create a new job. Yeah, so go
Yeah.
to job summary and then go up to your wood job shortcut. And if you scroll down, so there's nothing populated in this, but if you pre-populated that and then just save that as part of your template, it would save you time when each time you go to do it. You just have to double check which materials are selected.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's where the one I use now populates. Okay.
Um, yeah. So go back to the job. I mean, if you want to go through this, we can. I'm wasn't quite ready to show you this yet.
That's all right. You tell me where you want me to go.
Yeah,
I have a
go
history
back.
of jumping ahead.
Yeah, go back to the job. We'll get to this because there's some couple other inputs that make all why that matters and why that works. So now, okay, so materials are selected. So go up to the top right. Ooh, oh.
All right.
So here you've got your workflow. So you'll see it says estimate. So that's a big drop down. So that's your job status. So if you change that to scheduled, so change it to schedule, you're gonna see what's gonna happen. So now your target due date is blank. So what that means is if you're scheduling it, you should have a due date of when you plan on doing the work. So you'll put something in month, day, and year, and then that will flow into the job calendar, which I'll show you in a minute. Yep. So now change it to go from scheduled to invoiced. So invoiced, you should have when you completed the job and then the actual price that you charge the customer. So this is flagging you if you're missing pieces because this all ties into your revenue tracking. And then you'll see the price lock down there in pink.
Yep.
So what that is in this case, your material total is, oh, you may not have added materials in here yet. So once you're done updating everything before you send the invoice, because you know how we talked about you can kind of change your overhead costs, you can change material costs, you can change those things as you go,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't want all that. Um, yeah, when you select these other materials, that's going to populate costs for each one.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
because yeah. Okay.
yeah, that's the materials just low because you've got a count, but you've got to select a product, and then the cost will pull in.
All
So
right.
the price lock it's just it's a it's an out of the box way to kind of lock in your values. So that way, as you're going through the year or however long you use the dashboard, if you have to change pricing or you change overhead cost or your crew, you added 2 people to your crew and your labor cost changed, um, this locks the original values that you used when you gave the customer and charged the customer. So when you go back and look, some of the new values will flow into the sheet, but it doesn't affect your revenue tracking, your profit, and you have the original cost values. Does that make sense,
Okay.
Sam?
It does.
Okay. So I give you an example. So go into in column R18 for installation labor, plug in 2,900. So as soon as you plug a value in, it will overwrite that, and that goes into your total job price. So then that value
Okay.
is locked. It won't change even if your labor costs change later.
Gotcha.
But every subsequent job, so you're on job 5, but on job 15, your new labor costs will be in each new job. So you're always accounting for your actual business cost, but it doesn't screw with your old jobs that you've already done and closed.
Okay.
And then the only other status is complete, and you'll just want to mark things complete when your customer finally paid you.
So we do a 50% down, and a lot of people do 50% upfront deposit before we even schedule this here.
Okay.
I won't even give a date, and I don't know if you noticed, but I do 3 weeks out. That's typically what we run. Our
Okay.
installation is 3 weeks out, but it could be sooner based on different factors. Um, but we always collect. I don't even assign this date until I get a 50% deposit.
Okay. That might be something I could add in here.
Yeah, and I would typically, I want to collect that as soon as possible. And if I'm the salesperson, that's my goal, because I want to go ahead and get you on the books and stuff like that.
Yeah, I could add something in here for deposit collected, and I could
And
do it in that job workflow. I think that'd probably be a good idea.
like I
That
say,
way you that way you
we
have
set
tracking
all
of that.
hours. We set all hours at 3 weeks. That's just a general. That's where I found that we stay best is 3 weeks. Just a tidbit of information.
Okay. Yeah, I can do something with that. That way you, because that's one other tidbit that plays into workflow is you got a deposit and then which you can set your due date however you want. So in that shortcut bar, there should be one that says job calendar in your blue buttons up there. Yeah, job calendar. So now February, you just added one. So see where it says update job tab? It just means it might not have been you don't have a name in that job you just created.
Yeah.
But that's all it. But now it's showing that hey, you schedule that for 210. So then at any point in time, you can use the calendar, print the calendar, but it's just a nice schedule.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice.
All right, so now go to the job. So where you see job calendar, you go to job material pull. So it's the next tab over. It's right there beside job calendar at the bottom. Yeah. So this is the material pull sheet. So once you've selected your materials for a job, you can select that job number, and it's going to pull in all the materials that you've selected, the descriptions, and the count that you need. And this would be something that you could print or email to the crew and say, hey, go pull these materials. And then it's got tracking, so handwritten, where the crew can say, hey, look, this is how many pulled, and this is how many we returned that we didn't use. And that way,
Yeah.
this sheet could be turned back into whoever's handling inventory, and then you can update your inventory tracker with those values, and you keep track of your inventory that way.
Yep.
And
By the
that's all that
job.
sheet does. What's that?
By the job.
Yeah, by the job. And actually, there's a comment section in the inventory tracker, so you could make comments. Hey, this was job 5 or job 6 or whatever for each one.
Yeah.
And then the customer invoice essentially works the same way. Now, you'll notice in the top left it says customer estimate. So job 5, that's because job 5 is in an estimate status. So if you
Yep.
go to job 1, so change that drop down to job 1. So when it says it's an invoice or complete status, this is going to show customer invoice. And then it's going to show the date that you completed the job. So it's just a smart feature. So initially you're sending an estimate, and then it automatically changes the invoice when you're finally invoicing the customer. What, Bubba?
Braxton was shaking me with the cat in my hand, and I was holding him, and then
His cat scratched you?
Yeah, then the cat jumped, and then then his claws scratched me.
I'll come in here in a minute. Daddy's working. Do me a favor. Look, go get a shirt on because you look like you're cold. And you'll notice the whatever job name, so all the details of the job, so the address, the height, whether it's wood, it's privacy, what kind of picture you're using, removal or with removal, all that's going to be in the. So when you send it to the customer, all the details or as much details as I felt made sense to add, it automatically populates in that name.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And then I don't think that's the last piece. Yeah, I did have an installation tips tab in case, for guys like you that like to stay on top of stuff and want to add notes for certain jobs or for your crew. That's something you could just kind of create a list to have for later.
So that one right there makes a lot of difference.
Top rail connection should be no further than 1 foot from the post.
So if they're making a connection, you don't want it at 5 feet between two posts because it looks like shit.
Does
Because
it
it's
just
going to
start
be
to sag? Starts to
Yep.
sag, I guess. So you
Yep.
want it near the post. I guess
Yep.
so. Okay, I understand that.
So that's good. That's very good.
Well, what do you think? Oh, I didn't show you that. Click on the Access tab.
Access.
Yeah, you see Access. So that's the code that you can see everything in the Job tab. So delete that number out. If it's anything under than 4 ones, then go to Job 5. So now you're going to see in the top right corner, it's going to say Access is limited. Current access, limited, and the job pricing summary is all blank. You can't see it.
Yeah.
So if you got, if you got a crew, you just want them pricing, kind of building the job, but they get the job price, they get the full job price, but they don't have visibility of all the detail.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to hide it in every one. Yeah. Yeah, you want to see it. And then for you, is a person coming in, and if you want to see the detail, that current access is a shortcut and it takes you right back to the Access tab. If you look up in the top right. Yeah, so you click on that, it'll take you right back so you enter it in.
Okay. But I think it works great. Once I had to figure out a few of the nuances, but yeah, I think it works good.
Does a lot. It does a lot. Again,
Certainly
I
does.
can add more capability.
Well, let's see how it goes.
Has to test it out, try to use it. I think once like a couple of your questions on kind of the pre-populating. Once you've done a couple of jobs with it, I think it's honestly I think you'll be able to copy them and edit them, and it'll only take you a few minutes to do so.
No, I agree. It's
You
just
know,
getting that initial flow out of the way. Even though you
yeah.
wrote it down and you did very good instructions on it, it's hard to comprehend for me unless I'm doing it
Well, there's a lot
and
more
I'm trying to
pieces than
figure out
what
my
you
own.
there's a lot more pieces
Oh
than
yeah,
what you usually had. This does a
yeah.
lot more. Does a significant amount more. And then click on one of the. Let me show you this. So on the wood jobs, because that one's so like find the go to a. You probably find it faster. So go to job summary and then yeah, there you go. And then just go to wood. Just go to it doesn't have to be an actual job, Sam. Just go to the template. And I don't know why it's showing like that. So you're going to see on this one, so like the fencing job details, there's a little more to the selection. And what this it works identically. There's just more pieces. And the key, I think one of the I guess the additional parts is the finish section. So if you're doing a top rail with decking board or you're doing fencing caps, this allows you to count for those pieces. So, if I'm doing caps, I'm going to say, look, I'm using 2 per section, or I'm using a top board and I'm doing 1 per section, or I got 2x2 trim running around each section box and it takes 4 pieces per section. You can account for that and then select the material down below. And that way you can, if you're depending on how fancy you're getting. So you see finish 1, finish 2, finish 3, and then you can type in your count.
Yep.
So it just allows you, and like in that example, that's something I can't pre-populate. It just depends on the fence you're doing.
That's right.
And then if you're running wood rail, you're not using pickets, but you got some wire going in with it. You can account for that either finished material or down below. I've got another section where it just says I think just additional
Other items.
Yeah, yeah. So it's dynamic enough to account for a lot. Yeah, I've got wire in there. 100 foot. I think that's an actual price too. I got offline.
Yeah. Remember now. I don't know if you took a note of it, but you can't update the
Yeah, I'll fix that. When I know why it's like that. That's an easy correction.
Okay.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, that's the point of testing. Right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. I'd love to say I nail it every time, but that's just not how it works.
No, it never will.
Especially not with something like this. There's too
No,
many pieces, man.
it certainly is.
There's too many, and I've got all kind of conditional formatting in here. I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you an example. This is pretty cool. So take that one. For other items, so in row 66, I want to choose another item. Choose the very first product in the list. I'm going to show you something. All right, so post 4x4 treated pine. So now scroll up and use your shortcut and jump to wood material. Wood material. So go to your wood material tab.
Wood material.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you see that 4x4? See, it says post 4x4 8. So your name. So just delete the post, that material category. I'm gonna show you something.
Out of F7?
Yeah, no, E7.
E7.
Yeah, just delete that. All right, so now go back to that job you were just in. Was it the wood? So it might just select wood up there. Yeah. No, that was inventory. Go back to the wood job tab. I don't know where it's at. You got it in here somewhere.
Give me a minute. You pressure me.
Yeah, no, it's all right. Scroll back down. All right, so you see how, so what happened is you originally you chose from the drop down selection post 4x4. And then you went in and maybe you were making changes and you absolutely fumbled one of the names. It's trying to look for that name to pull in the dollar value.
Yep.
So I got clever to say, okay, in case you fumbled something or changed something, now it's going to say, hey, look, you need to go back and check your material name because you might have made a change and now it's not linking.
Right.
So then when you go back and you add in post, it's going to fix itself.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Gotcha.
so there's a lot of little things in here that I've done like that.
Yep.
Just to kind of highlight. So let me think of another one. There might be click in row G, just if it'll let you actually click over there. Oh, never mind. It's going to be conditional formatting, so you won't see it. I think there's some things that'll highlight red there too. If you make if you plug in if it'll let you. So by 22 point or the 22 to 55, plug in a 0. If it'll let you, and it's not locked. Okay, it didn't give you. Okay, it didn't give you an error. Okay, that might be fine. There was a couple other things where, yeah, there you go. Actual count. So if you plugged in a 0 and it wasn't supposed to be a 0, it'll flag it. And then I've got in all the notes, anywhere you hover over it, if something turns red, I've got to explain why it'll turn red.
Okay.